everyone, and welcome back to my nutrition series. Today we'll discuss fiber. So first of all, what is fiber? So fiber is a carbohydrate, same as other carbs that we find in foods, that are undigestible by human enzymes. Essentially, what we do with fiber is we ingest it, and the bacteria that reside in our gut will have enzymes that allow for digestion of that fiber. That is essentially the case for soluble fiber. So fiber is separated or differentiated in two categories. We have soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. So just to demonstrate a little bit what soluble fiber looks like once you ingest it. This is flax, it's ground flax. This is 1 tablespoon worth of ground flax, which equals about 2 grams of fiber. So this is what it looks like before we mix it with water. And I'm just going to pour some water into the flax and mix it. So when you choose flax as your source of fiber, you can add it to soups, you can add it to smoothies, to salads, and whatever amount of water you have in your final product, the flax is going to absorb some of it, and the final end product will look a little bit like a paste. This is the flax after it's been sitting around for 20 minutes. It makes a paste like so. It looks very gluey, it's voluminous, and it's homogeneous, meaning that the flax and the water have mixed perfectly together. This is what it looks like once it's mixed in your gut, in your intestines, and this is what the bacteria are going to digest. So this is for soluble fiber. So soluble fiber has a lot of benefits in the human gut. Essentially what it does is that it helps to nourish our gut microbiome, so the bacteria and the microorganisms that compose our gut. They're super important for our health, and we need to keep them alive and keep them healthy. Another thing that soluble fiber does is it helps with glucose or sugar metabolism. In other words, when we eat sugar and we have a bunch of fiber in our diet, the amount of fiber that we have, kind of a part of it is going to absorb some of the sugar, so the sugar is not going to be fully absorbed. So for example, if someone eats a food containing 15 grams of carbs, but 5 grams of fiber with that carb, only 10 grams of carbs will be absorbed. Essentially, the 5 grams of fiber will cancel out the 5 grams of carbs because, there you go, it helps with sugar metabolism. It also helps to prevent some of the fat absorption. So in a case of a really heavy fat meal, if you eat fiber along with that, then some of that fiber will cancel out some of that fat absorption, so the fat will stay in the gut and will go exit out. I want to show you a little bit what insoluble fiber looks like. So insoluble is essentially not soluble, so not digestible by our gut microbiome. So this, for example, is cellulose found in plant. This is a celery. So these kind of fibers are going to stay completely undigested in our gut, and they're going to contribute to the bulk of our stool. So what is the bulk? Is really the volume of what is contained in the intestines. People who have issues with constipation, for example, they would benefit from having extra fiber in their diet because it adds some extra volume and prevents that constipation, enables a faster transit. So that's a little bit of an overview. Quickly, where can we find fiber? So fiber can be found in pretty much plant foods. So that contains, it's either in things like beans or legumes. You can find it in seeds and nuts. You can find it in vegetables and fruits and pretty much any plant. Green leafy plants, things like that. You cannot find fiber in meat, you cannot find fiber in fish or in any dairy products. They contain no fiber. You can also not find fiber in processed foods. So anything that comes out of a can or a box, anything that you cannot recognize or the ingredients of which you cannot pronounce, you're pretty sure that there's very little to no usable fiber in that food. So here I've prepared for you guys a few different foods. And I've arranged them by highest fiber content to lowest fiber content. So here I've put white beans. As you can see, I've cooked the white beans. I actually didn't cook them well enough. I probably wouldn't eat them exactly like that. I'd cook them a little bit more, but this is 1 cup of white beans. And this 1 cup of white beans contains 13 grams of fiber. This is insane. It's super high fiber content. Pretty much all the beans and legumes contain similar amounts of fiber. You'd have to look for the same ones that you want to eat. Keeping in mind that the recommendations for healthy adults are to reach 25 to 35 grams per 24 hours of fiber. So 13 grams of fiber, if you eat a meal that contains 13 grams of fiber, you're pretty good. You've pretty much eaten the whole, like half of the amount of fiber that you should eat in a given day. Also, as a comparison, just bear in mind that the average North American, whether it's in Canada or US, eats about 11 grams of fiber per day. So that's kind of half or even lower than half of the recommended amounts of fiber that would be required. So beans and legumes, you're pretty set with that, very high fiber content. This is an avocado. Most people don't think avocados have much in terms of fiber because they contain virtually zero carbs. They're the staple food of paleo diet or keto diet, but in reality, they contain quite high amounts of fiber. So this is one avocado. It contains 9 grams of fiber, so you're pretty good with that. This is an example of nuts. So here I prepared walnuts for you guys, and you can see, so this 1 cup of walnuts equals almost 7 grams of fiber, so 6.7 about. Now, in terms of vegetables that contain high amounts of fiber, artichoke is probably the king or queen of vegetables in that regard. So 1 cup of artichokes contain around 6.4 grams of fiber. So that's also very good. So you can see here, broccoli is also pretty good too. Close to 5.5 grams of fiber per 1 cup of broccoli. And whether it's cooked or raw, it's about the same amount. In terms of cereal, I've chose oatmeal or oats. These oats are not cooked or they're not prepared, but it doesn't matter because the fiber content of oats does not change whether it's cooked or not cooked. So this contains about 4 grams of fiber per cup, which is pretty decent, 4.4 about. Brown rice, which I prepared here for you guys, around 4.4 grams per cup. So again, pretty rich, very similar to oats. And fruits, so this is blueberry. So fruits in general do not contain a lot of fiber, unfortunately. But these ones that I've selected kind of a little bit randomly contain about 3 grams per cup. And if you move closer to this section, these are the foods that have the lowest amount of fiber, just as an idea so that you can visually glance it. So this is red onion, around 3 grams or even 2 grams, I think, per cup. This is cabbage. So white cabbage is actually much better as a salad food than lettuce, for example, because it is higher in fiber. So this is a visual comparison. So here with the cabbage, we have 2 grams of fiber per cup. And with lettuce, we have unfortunately only 0.7 grams of fiber, so a lot less. Tomatoes is somewhere in between. And just for fun, I put here Smarties. So Smarties contain 0 grams of fiber. They do not contain fiber, they're completely modified foods. They contain lots of sugar, unfortunately. So yeah, so I just wanted to give you guys a visual. The ideal amount of fiber to be eaten in a given day is 25 to 35 grams, as we've spoke about. So let's just do a little bit of a combination here just to give you a visual of what it should look like in 24 hours. So just to give about a visual of what a plate might look like that has enough fiber, I'll take the artichokes that you saw right here, add them on a plate, and I'll combine that with the broccoli. So we have a plate that contains 2 cups of vegetables, and out of those 2 cups of vegetables, you have about 13 grams of fiber. So this is roughly half of your needs in 24 hours. So this is what a plate might look like. I understand it's maybe not as compelling as a plate that you might choose. You might put nuts and seeds, you might combine things differently, and maybe you won't choose as much of the same item, but roughly visually, it's about 13 grams. Now, we can do a different comparison. This is the classic salad most people like to combine together. We'll take the lettuce and we'll put all the tomatoes in. Although people often don't eat that many tomatoes, but this is 2 cups of vegetables, contains lettuce and tomatoes, and the whole mix here is only 3 grams of fiber, so not super high. But if we chose to put, for example, artichokes in here, then this plate would be much better. It would be closer to 13 grams, which would be about your half of your needs in 24 hours. We could think of other comparisons, like for example, if you want a snack. Interesting foods to combine for a snack would be walnuts. Again, people don't typically eat 1 cup of walnuts, but just for a visual. And blueberries, same thinking. So people don't usually eat 1 full cup of blueberries, but if you did, walnuts and blueberries combined together will give you about 10 grams, again, close to half of your daily requirements. This is what it looks like. It's quite a lot. People don't usually snack on such a high amount, but just so you have an idea. All right, so here we have the 3 plates that I made as an example earlier on. I realize a snack of this size is huge. you might want to divide this plate in 2 portions of equal amounts and have about 5 grams of fiber per portion. That could be a more decent size for a snack. But this plate that we established earlier on has a very low fiber content, 3 grams for the whole plate. Could be much improved if we added, for example, an avocado. So this is the avocado. When we cut it and add it to the plate, oops, this is what it looks like. Let's just separate a little bit here, the avocado. This would give the whole plate about 13 grams of fiber. Much better than earlier on, because 1 avocado is 9 grams of fiber. It's a huge amount. So this really bona fides a salad that's a little bit weaker in fiber. It really boosts it up in terms of the fiber content. Of course, you can do many iterations of that. One iteration that I haven't showed you is bean and rice together. So this is a very common combination in Mexican cuisine, for example, but Indian cuisine will also combine these two. This is a huge amount, but if you were to combine the portions from these 2 containers, so 1 cup and 1 cup, it would give you a heaping 14 grams of fiber, which is a lot of fiber for 1 meal. Now, a caveat that I wanted to add in terms of when you want to increase your fiber content, let's say you're in the category of people who don't eat enough fiber, you just realized after seeing this video that you can improve your fiber intake. It's great. You should definitely try to do that, but you shouldn't go for it all at once. So reach for that 25 to 35 grams all at once. The reasons for that is that you might experience bloating and flatulence and just discomfort as your gut microbiome changes. It's not dangerous. It's not a problem. You can always eat more fiber, but just to make it a more pleasant experience, I would suggest to increase your fiber content slowly over the course of 2 weeks, for example, just to decrease the unpleasant side effects you may experience. That is all for today. I hope you found this useful, and if you have any questions, you can always leave some comments below. Thank you so much, and see you next time.